She plays Mother Mary on CBC's Son of a Critch. But did you know her early work includes everything from Stratford stages to Ally McBeal to Star Trek Voyager? Hear all about her remarkable career so far next on Brio TV, the podcast. Hi, everybody. Bill Brio here. Thanks for joining me today. My guest this week is an actress originally from PEI who is best known to viewers of CBC's Son of a Critch, Claire Rankin. We had a wonderful conversation late last summer out in St. John's, Newfoundland during production of Season 4 of the series, which is on now Tuesday nights on CBC. Rankin has some great storylines this season, with Mary dealing with a midlife crisis, going back to school, and even revisiting her roots as a beauty pageant queen. But did you know Rankin also worked the stages of Stratford and Shakespeare productions, that she guested on shows such as Ally McBeal and Star Trek Voyager? And then way back, barely in her 20s, she survived working opposite Charles Bronson in Death Wish 5. Hear her on all that, plus her memories working opposite the great Dick Van Dyke while they got to sing and hang out years ago on Diagnosis Murder. This is a very sweet story. We start off talking about how she landed her role on Son of a Critch, where, as many actors do these days, she had to audition on a Zoom call. This one took place during COVID times, with co-stars, producers, and writers zooming in from all parts of the world. It's crazy how this works and how commonplace these kinds of virtual auditions have become. Anyway, over to you, Claire Rankin.
I almost never Zoom.
Okay.
I think the only Zoom that I have done since COVID was my chemistry read for this.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And where were you when you were doing that?
I was in Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah, in my apartment.
And who did you do a chemistry read with?
Benjamin was in London.
Isn't that crazy?
I don't know where he was.
Yeah.
The casting director was on from Ireland. Mark was, it was May, so I guess, it's COVID, so I guess he was home here.
Yeah.
I think Tim McAuliffe was probably in Los Angeles.
Right.
Renica, the director, was in Toronto.
Right.
Yeah. And I did it on my phone because I didn't even have a computer. So, and Mark goes, he goes, you got the job actually before you even really opened your mouth, because he said you were so funny and kind of charming while you were, because you were like, I couldn't get the Zoom thing to work properly. And I had like 6 people on my screen, and he said you were so good natured about it. Like you weren't at all flustered. Sweet. You were just, and he said, he goes, oh, that girl's nice. I can tell she's nice. And he goes, and then you were great when you were red. But he said, I could just tell you were a nice person. And I was like, oh, that's kind of great. That's a lovely.
That's a nice story.
Yeah.
Like I talked to us, there was the male and female lead of a CBC show. It's sort of a spy show. I can't remember the name of it now. Anyway.
The new one, Wildcard?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Do you play Password? Or
I know. I'm pretty good at celebrity, I must say. Not bad.
But they had to do this chemistry read. It was like this romantic scene, and I just thought, how the hell do you do that over, one was, like you said, two different worlds. Yeah. And they managed to...
you just gaze starry-eyed at each other over the phone.
Who doesn't look longing and lovingly at their Zoom?
That's right, in your FaceTime kind of situation.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What are you doing this morning? What's the scene?
This morning I was working with Sean Doyle.
Oh, great.
Which is really wonderful for me because I did a play with Sean 30 years ago at YPT. We were in Young People's Theater together.
Yes.
Yeah, we were like kind of like, had I gone to theater school, I would have been like right out of theater school. But yeah, we were kids. It was one of our first shows together. So I haven't worked with him since.
Oh my God.
So I've seen him socially, but so it was just so lovely to like get to do a couple scenes with him.
He's a wonderful actor. I was in Vancouver and he was shooting a show where he was a Russian chess master spy, right?
Sean can do anything.
Yeah.
He can kind of do anything.
But he was so funny about it because he said he was doing his, there was like a shaving cream ad. What was it? Alberto VO5 ad. That's where he pulled the accent to do the Russian drum. And I remember it was a very funny interview.
Oh, he's so sweet.
Yeah. And he's a little more method, isn't he? Like he was sort of, the other day I saw him in the scene you were shooting, and he's the teacher, and he just was so subdued from the Sean that did that other role.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I find him, he's the real deal.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So we found out how you got the job.
Well, that's my version. Well, you can run it by Mark.
Absolutely. And yesterday was madness. I thought I couldn't believe it was like a cast of thousands.
Oh yeah,
that
right.
Wasn't a typical. Tell me that wasn't a typical day.
Well, it's not a typical day when the Prime Minister swings by either.
Right.
So that's not a typical day
right.
in the office. We're like, oh, the PM just wants to swing by and say hello.
Yeah,
that was kind of crazy.
Had you met Justin Trudeau before?
No, I had not.
Kinda
so
cool.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I was amazed. I had met his father years ago. Actually, shook it and told him that in the brief exchange. Shook his hand, and then I told him I had voted for him 3 times. And Mark yells, "And that was in one day."
In one day, yeah, exactly.
Pretty funny.
No,
but not only that, just you had. I mean, I'm foolishly an extra in a scene in a bar, and there's so much going on. People are going left and right.
Yeah.
And then you have this banquet scene. You're all glammed up. Everybody looks fantastic. There's a dance going on.
Yeah.
That's a lot of...
Yeah, that was a big day. Those are big days when we have 50 extras.
Yeah.
On music playback.
Yeah.
People dancing.
Yeah.
The scene happening in about 3 different places at the same time, right? Because it's happening up in the DJ. It's also happening at the table. There's also the waiter coming in and all the dancers. So, I thought it was a really smooth day considering because that was a really big day.
It's a great crew here. These guys are...
I have never been so happy on a job in my life. I can't.
Yeah. Nice to hear.
It's unreal.
Yeah. And you've been on some major shows, right? You've done a lot of episodes.
I've been around a long time. I guess I'm, my last name's Rankin. I feel like I'm rank and file performer. She's always journeyman actor. Like I'm always guest starring on something or.
There was a Catherine Rankin who was a film cutter and an editor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, years ago, and she worked on a lot of big movies. Anyway, that's nothing to do with that. So you've seen crews in action in LA and Vancouver and Toronto,
LA,
right?
Texas and South Carolina and kind of all over, really, when I think about it. But
South Carolina had all those. Oh my goodness! And with one of the sort of the shows, not Friends, but it was a cast like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, yeah, there was around the time they were doing. I was going to say South Carolina and North Carolina because in Wilmington was big, and they were shooting a lot of like Dawson's Creek and all those kind of CW teen shows, which was the WB back then.
Right.
How funny that we landed on the CW when I used to watch all those shows back in the WB in the day.
Yeah, and Senator Critch is doing very well on the CW as well.
I think we're doing all right down there. Yeah.
It must be heartening that such a local story is embraced all over North America, that people relate to you guys.
I think it's so relatable.
Mm.
I mean, even when you remove the time period from it, I mean, that has its own kind of nostalgia for a certain group of people, but just the family relationships, the friendships growing through your teenage years, mom getting old enough that the boys don't, your kids don't need you the same way anymore. And, like all of those things that everyone goes through growing pains.
Are you someone who goes to a high school reunion or business?
I have been to a high school reunion. I went to my 20th high school reunion. I had a really good time. Yeah. I'm actually still, I'm in touch with some friends that I've had since I was quite wee.
Yeah, me too.
Like old PEI friends, like those. Yeah, totally.
That's like there's 2 provinces I haven't visited. That's one of them in New Brunswick. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know.
Bill.
Sorry.
Prince Edward Island.
I hear
it's so beautiful.
Yeah. Are you from Charlottetown? Or are you
from about 15 minutes outside of Charlottetown?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a gorgeous place to grow up. It was a perfect place to grow up. I loved it.
That's what I hear.
Loved it. Yeah.
Played hockey with a bunch of teachers, and the guy that ran the team was from there.
Oh.
Raved about it.
Yeah.
And when did you get into acting? Was that something that
I started as a dancer. I danced professionally first.
And that's not that unusual, is it? You hear a lot of people who train as a dancer who become actors.
Yeah, there are a few people who have kind of made that transition. I mean, that's what was available to me when I was in Charlottetown. There was the Charlottetown Festival.
Right.
And my parents would take me to see those musicals and things when we were young.
Wow. And
I loved seeing those shows. And the dance school was inside that building, and my dance classes were there from the time I was little. And then I got to do shows at the Charlottetown Festival when I was a teenager. I joined the company, and I actually left my grade 12 year and toured across Canada with Anne of Green Gables.
Oh my God.
On a national tour. So my parents let me leave home at 16. This is back in the day when you actually didn't have to have a tutor, didn't have to have a guardian, didn't go to school. You actually it was good. It was really good. You just left, and I did 8 shows a week, and I had never been to Toronto. I had never been to Ottawa. I played Montreal, Place des Arts. I was in Vancouver at the Queenie. I mean, it was amazing.
Place des Arts, it's an enormous room. That's a big...
The O'Keefe Center is massive. God, It was unbelievable. Yeah, it was such an experience, and I knew right after that that's what I would be doing. So as soon as I graduated high school, I moved to Toronto.
Were you
17?
Were you Anne?
I understudied Anne. I was one of the dancers in it. I took over as Anne when, I had to go on as the understudy when the actress broke her ankle, actually.
Oh my God!
In the summer, and that was quite a thing.
Or a bat?
Yeah, exactly. I Tanya Harding'd her. For those of us who are old enough to remember that story, yeah. So I did get to go on.
Just aside, my son went to a school that had a drama program in Brampton, and they did a performance of Anne of Green Gables, and Don Herron showed up to see it, and apparently he does that. He
showed up to mine too when I went on as the understudy. I thought I was going to have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
Because I was all 16 years old.
Yeah.
I just got chucked onto the stage. Yeah. It was quite intimidating.
I was trying to explain to Dan. I said this would be like if you're at a hockey camp and Gordie Howe showed up to watch you skate or something.
They're his words.
Yeah.
Your lyrics, your music.
Yeah.
He was a very kind man, though. He was very kind.
He seemed very sweet. Yeah. Charlie Farquharson.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. He used to do his stand-up shtick with his cap and talk about IBM computers, except he called them 1BM.
1BM.
Which was hilarious in 1983.
And I had Catherine McKinnon's Christmas album.
Oh, my God.
It was all of her old tunes.
I'll tell you the Catherine McKinnon story later. Well, maybe I'll tell it now. So, this takes too long.
No.
We'll talk about it.
All right, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
I just love that we're old enough to have these references.
You're much younger than I am, so let's not get carried away.
Well.
So you danced, you're on this cross-country trip, and then when did you start doing television?
It took a few years. I actually went to Stratford for 4 seasons.
I read the edge. It
was kind of a weird transition. I danced professionally and moved to Toronto to be a dancer, but to do musicals and music videos and things like that. And I did some of that. But I was only in Toronto a year when I got a contract at Stratford in the musical. And while I was there, I just fell in love with the classics. And those were the days when if you were in the company, they gave you the opportunity to audition for the young company, for the main company.
Yeah.
And, I was very lucky. They saw something in me, and I landed in the young company at the tiniest part, but it was very hard at that time to transition. Like, you didn't transition from a dancer to a classical actor. It was very, very weird.
What years were these in Stratford?
I was there from 89 to 93. And
I probably saw you in some of this stuff.
Yeah, I did a lot of shows there. But it was one of those wonderful things where I started in the musical, and by the time it was my last season, I was only in the acting company. I did Miranda and the Tempest. I did Catherine Loves Labour's Lost. I understudied Megan Follows as Juliet.
Oh, wow.
Back in the day. Yeah. So, it was a big transition. So but after that, I sort of felt like it had kind of served its purpose. It feels like, I think everything for me has always been like, what's the next challenge? I started not feeling so fulfilled by just dance anymore at a certain point. And I think that's when I started seeing would be like to actually act. And then it was the classics, and that seemed really exciting. And then the idea of being on TV seemed like, well, maybe that's real. Maybe you can do that too.
But just to pause on the classics for a minute, you must blow your mind to be playing opposite Malcolm McDowell. I mean,
oh, wow.
You must be quite intrigued by your background. And
Malcolm? He's
you,
such a character. I love him so much.
Yeah. Who doesn't? He's incredible.
Yeah. Well, he's lived a life. The stories are beyond. It's the most,
But he saw Olivier on stage, and like he.
Oh my God, he worked with Gielgud. He would tell me these stories about like him, Gielgud staying in the villa with him when they were, shooting in Italy, and just looking over his balcony and seeing Gielgud sitting there in the morning reading the paper and having a cup of tea. And even Malcolm was like, I can't believe this is my life. Like even he was like, Gielgud's just sitting in my garden. Yeah. I was like, wow, that's got to be something else. I can't imagine.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. So then you thought, well, maybe what's in this TV biz? What can we do here?
Yeah, it was I grew up with 2 channels, right? It didn't seem like you could ever be on the television. Like who was on television? That just seemed like an impossible thing.
That was your reality in Prince Edward Island?
Yeah.
Okay, and so you got CBC and
CTV.
Nothing crossed the border?
Channel 8 and Channel 13. No, not until I lived pretty far out in the country.
Okay.
And I think my parents probably got cable around the time that I moved away.
If a plane went over and something, and there was a rainy day.
It was just click to Channel 8 and Channel 13. Yeah, no, we didn't even have like PBS or anything back in the day. Wow. So it didn't seem like something you could actually do. It wasn't until I guess I started to know some people in Toronto who were auditioning for TV shows, and I thought, oh, that's people can do that. You can do that. Like that can really.
Yeah.
And then that kind of became the focus. Like how could I do that?
What was your first TV booking or show? Or
my first job, was a terrible job. My first thing I ever did, I should actually talk to Robert Joy about it at some point because he plays my dad on the show, but he was also in it too. But the first job I ever did was Death Wish 5 with Charles Bronson.
Oh my God.
And it was worst experience of my life. I literally thought, if this is what it is to be on set, I'm out.
Oh, thank you.
So I did one job, and it was an absolute nightmare.
Because
there's so many things.
Some of the folks associated were assholes, I guess.
So many things were not good about that particular project. Yeah. Let's just say, to being a young woman in the film industry back in the day, it was a lot more difficult than now that we have intimacy coordinators and the Me Too movement. That's really helped things a lot, I think, for people. But when you were very young back in the day, there was nobody to kind of have your back. So it was less than ideal to be
nasty eye opener.
22 and on a set.
What was your role on that film?
I was the bad guy's girl. So it was like, I was the 22-year-old gangster's mall who was with a man who was 60 odd years old or whatever it was, like just the madness of those kinds of things. Right. But it was the first, I'd never been on film before. So it was a big deal.
The world has changed. It's like CBS was run by Les Moonves.
Oh, yes, I know.
Okay.
Because I spent many years in Los Angeles.
All right, yeah. So every hit show on CBS was, there would be some 59-year-old detective surrounded by beautiful women who were half his age, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he was...
Like, you didn't have to be a psychiatrist.
I never booked... I did a lot of network tests for CBS. I never booked a Les Moonves show. I don't think.
Wow, good for you. Yeah.
Not a fan.
Kind of, yeah. God, goodbye, Les. But powerful man in television.
Oh.
Yeah.
And in Los Angeles, you really started to realize, like, I 3 years after that job, I moved to Los Angeles.
Back with Son of a Critch's Claire Rankin right after these short messages. Time once again to speak with Emily Gagne at Hollywood Suite. Emily, what do you got for us this month?
Well, it's Black History Month, Bill, so we're celebrating Black excellence with some incredible titles from throughout Black cinema history. You know, we've got a ton of Spike Lee stuff, Do the Right Thing, The Inside Man. But we also have some like lesser known titles like The Watermelon Woman, which is a really, really cool movie from the 90s. That's a precursor to like queer Black cinema.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Wow. I have not seen that. And any Canadian titles?
Yes, we have this film Guess Who, which is about the mummering, which is an act in, I guess, Newfoundland, where kind of like trick-or-treating, where you go door to door in costumes. Anyways, it's a horror movie about that. So guess who's coming to dinner, and guess who on Hollywood Suite this month.
Look, there's a good theme. Don't miss it. February on Hollywood Suite. Thanks, Emily.
Thanks, Bill.
And we're back with Claire Rankin.
So when you're 25, you're in LA, and
26, I went to LA. I had done a mini series about Dan Jansen, the speed skater, with Len Cariou and Matt Kessler. And, it was a really nice mini series, and it got me a little bit of notice there. And so I was sort of invited to come down and meet some people. And I thought, I'll try out pilot season and see how it goes.
You're on Ally McBeal. You're on Diagnosis Murder.
I did do a few fun things. Ally McBeal was really fun. Diagnosis Murder was really fun. So was I did Star Trek. I did.
Oh my God! Which one?
I did Voyager.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I did an episode called Alice, and I played Alice, and that was really fun. And
I got to go on the set of some of the Star Treks, and I mean and I'm not the world's biggest Star Trek fan, but some of the other critics, they're going to Lourdes. You know, I mean, I had to take pictures of them in 789's bedroom or whatever the hell.
Yeah, it's like, even if you're not the hugest fan, it's the fact that it's iconic in the sense that you're like, I'm on this very iconic piece of. And I also had like Michael Westmore and stuff do an entire head for me. Cool. So I had my head dipped, and I had an alien character as well as a human character. And
really?
Yeah. So it was really, really. It was an experience.
Did you have that look like a big tire from a truck?
I looked like an absolutely crazy alien. It was the most uncomfortable dance that I've ever had in my entire life. And to this day, I was like, I did it once, I'm never doing that again. It was glued to every inch, like right around my eyelids. It was glued right to the edges of my mouth, all the way down my neck. It was. I thought, I don't know how these actors do it. I don't know how they do it. It's shocking, people who manage. They must have like a zen-ness about them that is unbelievable, because I did one 16-hour day or something trapped inside that thing, and I thought, nope, never again, not for me.
I don't know how you do. I've seen pictures, and it seems so claustrophobic. Like the actors have like straws in their nose so they can still breathe while they're getting. Oh yeah,
when you get your head dipped and all of that stuff. But it's when you actually wear it, it's glued to every inch of your face.
Oh my God.
So it's glued to every inch of your. It was it's an experience.
Yeah,
it really is an experience.
It's amazing. Let's talk Diagnosis Murder, because I'm Dick Van Dyke. I collect 16mm film, and I have literally 50 episodes of the Dick Van Dyke Show on film. Some network prints with commercials and everything.
Wow.
So you got to work with him as an older gentleman. He was probably in his 70s at that point, right?
I know, because he's 96 now? I did that show, and I'm going to say 96 or 97, so it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
God, is that 30 years or 20 years? I don't even know anymore.
It's 20 years.
I was like, how old? God, I'm old.
Claire,
I know, it freaks me right out. Yeah. That was so special. Also, because I was a huge musical theater kid. Like, that's movie musicals and all of that. That's what made me fall in love with the idea of performing. And so watching all of those things.
Bye Bye Birdie, right?
Oh my God. And just, Mary Poppins is like one of my favorite movies to this day. And he was so lovely, so kind, and so fun. And we'd sit between takes, and because I would talk about, shows, he was how much I love musicals, and we would talk about different musicals, and what was your favorite, and what one was your first one you'd ever been in. I said, The Music Man was the first musical I'd ever been in. And
he had probably just done it.
Yeah, he was, and so he was just like, light a rose, I'm home again, rose. So we just started to
Did you dance?
Sun back in the sky. We just would sing songs from musicals, between takes. And I thought, oh my God, I am singing Dick Van Dyke.
Wow.
This is just
doesn't get better.
This is just magic, right?
I was, because I covered TV for many years. I still am, and I would go down to the TCAs, the television critics down in
Association, Pasadena, yeah.
And they had Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore together to do the Gin Game.
Come on.
For PBS, I think, maybe 2002 or and I was standing outside before going into the banquet room, and there is Van Dyke, and Moore arrives, and he starts singing something greenery from, you probably know, from some classic
musical.
And she starts singing it back, and they dance. And it's like, oh my God, pinch me.
Like magic, right?
It is, because he was, as you say, not self-conscious about it at all. He just loved to do this.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool to see. So good for you. Wow.
Yeah, there's it's so funny because it seems like we always think it's like such a glamorous business on the outside, but when you actually get behind the scenes, it's actually not all that glamorous at all. But then every once in a while, you have these moments that aren't glamorous in the sense that you're on a red carpet and it feels all fancy, but that you're just next to this person that you've been watching your whole life, and we're so inspirational. It's so exciting when your icons live up to how you want them to be. It doesn't always work that way, and when it does, it's just it's so fulfilling. You just think, I loved having every moment of watching this person, and then you think, God, if I even can give a tiny little bit of that back in some way, like some other little kid or something, in some way, it feels like it comes full circle.
Besides Dick Van Dyke, someone else jump to mind that was an experience like that for you?
Oh God, there's so many people I worked with that were amazing. Or just kind. Like I find that always the most interesting thing when you land on something. Like, Mark Harmon is a huge star. He was of NCIS and all of those things.
Seems like a lovely guy, yeah.
But I did Chicago Hope with him back in the day. Yeah, like way back in the day.
Yeah.
And he was just, once again, like I was just there as the guest star. I'm like, I'm your love interest this week kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so welcoming, so kind on the set, making you feel so great about being there. And so like those shows are really, really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Wow.
Yeah.
My goodness, these credits you have are really cool. Eh?
I can't even remember now at this point. That's the problem. And I know it sounds crazy but when you guest star a lot, and the next thing, like some people land on a show and they get to play the same character for 5 or 10 years or whatever. I just play. I've done 50 different guest stars on different shows, and so I sometimes have to look at my resume to go, what was interesting that year? And I'm like, what did I do? I don't even know. Like things come and go so quickly,
Well, so when you land at Son of a Critch, you've got this experience now where you're playing the same role for 4 seasons. That must be
a gift.
Yeah.
A gift from God.
Yeah.
It's, I tell you, it tastes sweeter when you've been in the business a really, really long time. I'm like, it took a really long time for me to land something like this, but boy, are you ever grateful when it comes to you later in your career, because you really love every moment. You're
playing Mary, the wife of Mark Sr.
Yeah.
And is beyond what's written. Are you thinking of someone? Is she based on anyone that you know? Or
I never met Mark's mom.
Right.
She died before the show came to be.
So unlike almost everyone else on the show, Mark can't introduce you to the person that you're.
Yeah, exactly. Like everybody else has got these references.
Wow. Yeah.
And he's like, I don't really have video of, like I have video, but she's older and it's not really going to help you, know?
And was that a bit liberating, maybe?
Yeah, I think it was. It was a little terrifying in a certain way, because I thought, well, I mean, you hired me, so I must have an essence of your mom in there somewhere. But I can't pretend to be her because I don't know what that is.
Right.
So then so my insecurities would be like, oh God, am I honoring her? And is this enough? But I think what's been really beautiful about it is that it has been about an essence, and then it's, Mark says, like, the character's yours now. But early on, I had a couple of really good moments. I think my very first day on set, we were shooting when Princess Di and Charles came to Newfoundland.
Wow.
And it was an outdoor scene where they come. And I was terrified. It was like very first day. It was another one of these big giant scenes with crowds and everything else. And I'm kind of yelling through the crowd to little Mark. And two of the ladies who were extras, background, in front of me, more like in their 60s, 70s. And one of them turned around to me and she went, "Oh my God, you sound just like Mary."
Wow.
And I said, and she goes, "That is just a Mary thing to do." And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "Oh, I knew her from like this, that, and other. And I knew her from the store, whatever." And I said, "Oh my God, no way." And she goes, and I thought, oh, that's the greatest compliment ever.
Fantastic.
So somewhere, and I think Alan Hocko said, "I cannot believe how much you sound like Mark's mom."
They all knew.
And I didn't know her. So that in itself, but definitely for me, it's like, there's both of my grandmothers are in there. Yeah. Right. Like both my grandmothers were very from the same town and everything, but very different kind of qualities. Mm-hmm. And I think I definitely poured both of those women into this character.
And did you, the accent, you're just immersed in it here, I guess. Does that help? Do you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm from PEI.
Right. So,
which has its own accent, but there is a similar flavor and feeling to it. And we had a wonderful accent coach the first season we were here, and everybody was given different variations of the accent. So they really wanted the older characters to have stronger accents. Yeah. And depending from what area you were from, town or the Bay or whatever, we all were given a different flavor. The kids were given much less heavy Newfoundland accent. They wanted them more influenced by television and by those kinds of things. Yeah. So it's interesting because you will hear like Mark's accent is actually different to mine. Yeah. Mine changes, which his mother's did apparently. Like she tried to speak much more elegantly and upper crusty when she would be on the phone or if she was in town or whatever. And the angrier she got, the thicker it would become. And so I play with that as much as I can too. Yeah.
That's fun. This season, the scenes I was seeing here yesterday, Mary gets all glammed up. You look great. It's fantastic. You must like that. Get out of the housewife.
Yeah, it's fun once in a while. I get a little bit here and there. She gets out of the house. She spends a lot of time in the kitchen. So.
Yes. And can you tell us anything about this season? What's going on? You're bonding, it seems, with Fox's mom a bit.
Yeah, I feel like I really got lucky this season. I have a lot of interesting stories that are kind of my own, not just tied to the boys and their experiences or what they're going through. Yeah. And I think there's something in the fact that now that the kids are of a certain age, they don't need me the same way. She's looking for who is she going to be next. Yeah. And so this season I get to a couple of scripts I haven't even seen yet, but I get to go to school and take some classes. Oh. I get a new friend. I spend more time with Suzanne. I get a job. I enter a pageant. Oh. There's all kinds of fun things that kind of
jump
happen.
Over that. What's the pageant? This is St. John's. What's going on?
Well, she was a contestant. Oh. She was a Miss Newfoundland contestant back in the 60s, and his mom did a little bit of modeling back in the day too. Wow. So they had great old modeling shots of her that I get to recreate. Wow. From her back in the day, and she kind of gets a chance to do a little bit of modeling, I suppose, again later on. So that script I actually don't have yet. I've only been given the broad strokes, but I feel like this year we're kind of seeing her out in the world more, which is really, really nice for me. Yeah, it's really fun for me.
And you do 13 a year generally, right?
Yes.
And is that a marathon or is it perfect? Or?
It's not enough.
Really?
Not for me.
You could do 18. 20?
I'd like to do 26. I'd like to do.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to leave. I hate it. Summer goes way too quickly. It's over too fast for me. Wow. I'd love to do more. I've
been talking to the writers and other actors and stuff, and what remark that I hear is that people come here on their day off, right? And see.
Like I'm finished now for the day. And I will probably go back and visit set because I want to see what's happening in the party scene and want to hang out for a little bit in the tent. And I mean, The crew is almost all local, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And we've all bonded and made friendships there, which is incredible. And then the rest of us gather from wherever for the summer. So it's a bit summer camp like. We keep saying, you know, we all disappear for 9 months and then we come back together for 3. But we really do only have each other, those of us who are from away. And so our whole life is within those walls of that set and those people. So we spend a lot of time together. And it's great. I miss them terribly when the season's over. I keep wishing that we could find a way to like make a Christmas movie or do a vacation movie. Or I'm like, what else could we do? How are we going to see each other?
Attention, you know? Brad, CW, are you listening?
I know.
Let's make this happen.
It would be great.
Well, that's such a remarkable thing. And often, you know, an actress life is kind of a nomadic. You worked all over the world, right? And to be able to root in one place for at least a summer and then to have an annual event makes it really special, wouldn't it?
Well, in those relationships too, it's like so often you get in, you get out, you may not ever see people again. Yeah. You have this very close relationship in this very short period of time, then it's gone. But these ones, I mean, we spend time together outside of it. If we meet in Toronto, if somebody's flying in, if we, you know, Colton saw Benjamin in the UK when he was there, you know, and we all spend time together in Toronto, or like if they're passing through, like Mark and or Benjamin and his dad were like on their way to do a movie in Sudbury. And so, you know, we all like pit stop somewhere to try and have a dinner, and it's, is
Colton from Sudbury?
Colton's from Sudbury.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I enjoyed talking to him. He's hilarious. He did an impression of Malcolm McDowell. It was pretty good.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. There's a lot of I was like, I don't do that. I'm like, no, I'll say Malcolm's good books. I'll be the one person who's not doing impressions of Malcolm McDowell. No, Colton's he's an absolute dream. He's a sweetheart. I love him.
He does seem great.
Yeah.
Imagine 23 and
things aren't going too badly for him at all.
Yeah.
He got 2 series on the go.
Does he?
Well, he's on Jenny and Georgia as well.
Oh,
for
really?
Netflix. So he's doing okay. Yeah, it's like he's doing real good.
Isn't that funny? He never brought that up.
Well, he's very modest and very lovely young man. He's well brought up.
He is. Do you are you able to work in other shows in between the schedule? Have you done movies and?
If there's anything going, I'm dying to work in between.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm only here 3 months of the year.
Wow.
So a couple of years I did Dear Evan Hansen, a U.S. national tour.
Oh, wow.
So I did the original Canadian production just before this came out. So I was on tour in the United States. This show, I would never be doing this show if it weren't for COVID, because I had a 1-year contract with Dear Evan Hansen and the U.S. national tour. And we got shut down in Salt Lake City in March. And I came back home to Canada. Mm-hmm. We had no idea when we were going to go back. And this show auditioned in May. Mm-hmm. And by the time I was hired to do this show, I had agreed to go back to Dear Evan Hansen in the fall in October. So I was just really lucky that this show shot from July until the middle of September or something at that point.
Where was Hansen shooting? Where is it?
Touring all over the U.S.
Okay.
Oh my God, we were in every. I did 38 cities in 38 weeks. Like It was absolute madness. Wow. So I did 6 months of that, and then this came to Critch. Then as soon as I finished Critch, I had a week off, and I went back to New York to rehearse Dear Evan Hansen. Then I toured that all the way until the following April. I was supposed to stay until June, but Critch was going to start up again, and I thought I have to have a break. So I left the tour at the end of April, and I had made a bit of June off, and then I came back to do this, and then after that it was.
And in New York, where are you based? Is it?
I'm based in Toronto now.
Okay, all right.
We rehearsed the show in New York.
I see.
I've given up my Los Angeles and I had to give back my American phone number. I'm a true Canadian again. I've been back for 10 years. So.
Well, it's I lived in LA for a couple of years. I worked for TV Guide Canada in the 80s and enjoyed, the Valley.
Were you in the San Fernando Valley? Were you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sherman Oaks.
Sherman Oaks, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice area.
Galleria.
Yes, the Galleria. Yeah. Yes, I know exactly where that is.
So I miss what's the funky store where you get all your groceries and they're all handmade.
Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's. Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Why is there no Trader Joe's in Canada?
I know. We really need one.
Yeah. But otherwise, there are a lot of aspects I don't really terribly miss from California. I mean, the traffic in Toronto is just as bad, right?
It is just as bad. I loved it when I moved. It was exciting. Mm-hmm. You know, I felt that nobody knew who I was, and there were no preconceived notions, so I could go into auditions and rooms and just be seen fresh.
Yeah.
And it was exciting. It was exciting to drive onto the Warner Brothers lot and the Paramount lot and the Fox lot and get to work in some in those studios and be on the back lot. And, you know, like all of that stuff was really exciting and fun for a while.
So you're at Warner's, there's these shields out front in bronze and it says Casablanca and all these things. So you find out you're shooting in the place where they made Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, exactly. You're like walking through the Sony lot.
Yeah.
You know, and every building has got another name on it. Or like the Culver City Studios, which used to be Charlie Chaplin Studios, and like all those tiny, beautiful little white buildings. I'm like, I'm in a network test for, in this space. It's unbelievable.
That Warner's campus to me is just fantastic. It really is.
It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
Warner. Yeah. It's beautiful. Disney's amazing. Yeah. Anyway, they were all really exciting. And so that was wonderful for a number of years. But yeah, then at a certain point too, you realize, oh my God, I've gotten to the other side of the continent. I'm so far away from my family. My mom and dad were in PEI. My sister is in Nova Scotia. And I thought, you spend your 20s like running away. And then at some point in your 30s, you're like, oh my God, I've gone so far. Wow. I was like, how can I get back? And so the closest I could get was Toronto if I really wanted to be able to still do what I do and closer to home, you know? And so,
it is fun to visit Dopey Drive and Mickey Lane and all that stuff.
Oh, the animation building.
Yeah, it is cool.
It's really cool. I loved it.
I remember when I was there in the 80s going to can't remember. There was an older guy who was the archivist of the Disney Archives.
Okay.
He was down in the Roy Disney building. Back then, things were a little different. And they had on the wall a big picture of Mussolini. And it was signed to my pal Walt.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and it was gone the next time I visited the archives. But
yeah, imagine.
It was just, at some point in the 30s, I guess.
Wow.
Before things got a little different, Benito was a fan of, I guess, early Mickey.
Well.
Yeah.
He can have some taste, I suppose. Even though you're a ruthless dictator, but other than that.
More with Claire in just a moment. Hey, have you been watching the new season of When Calls the Heart on Super Channel? The Shot in BC series is back on Heart and Home with more stories set in the 1920s about family, community, and romance. Look for a special guest, Melissa Gilbert from Little House on the Prairie, way back then, as Georgie McGill, who shares a surprising past with one key resident of Hope Valley. Thursdays on Super Channel Fuse, look for more new episodes of Fake. Magazine writer Bertie Bell meets Joe Bird on a dating app and thinks she's found her perfect match, but is her boyfriend all he's cracked up to be? Over on Super Channel Quest, check out Secrets in the Ice, which is not about the Toronto Maple Leafs never winning another Stanley Cup, but examines history once frozen in time. That's all this month, plus tons of movies and more on Super Channel, available via most cable providers across the country, as well as streaming live and on demand with Amazon Prime Video channels, Apple TV Plus, and Fubo. Well, February is here, and it's packed with a mountain of new entertainment on Paramount Plus. Don't miss the new series Watson, starring Morris Chestnut. This is a modern spin on the Sherlock Holmes tale, with Chestnut as Dr. Watson, back treating rare disorders 6 months after the death of his friend and partner, Sherlock Holmes. For reality buffs, there is a 5th season of The Challenge All-Stars featuring 26 cast members from shows like The Real World, Big Brother, Survivor, and others, and they're all competing for a grand prize. Come Valentine's Day, catch the 2nd season premiere of NCIS Sydney, as well as the new reality series The Wranglers, set at Montana's Circle Bar Dude Ranch. Look for the new all-Canadian feature, Aberdeen, about an indomitable middle-aged Indigenous climate change refugee forced from her home due to flooding. Finally, don't miss the second season of Taylor Sheridan's Yellowstone origin story, 1923, starring both Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren. This month, you'll find No Yellowstone Unturned on Paramount+. And we're back.
Do you watch much TV? The shows?
I watch so much television. I'm a junkie. It's really bad, the amount of television I watch.
Great.
But it's my job, right? I'm always, I binge watch my way through so much stuff. I watch a lot of British television. I watch a lot of Scandinavian stuff.
Yeah.
During COVID, I decided that I needed to start watching things with subtitles. Because I didn't want to be, I felt like we were also unmoored and a bit distracted and stuff. And I thought I need to be sitting and watching things. So I love Belgian co-pros. I love a good crime stuff, but I love a character study. I just love TV. I have to say. I really do. I love it.
Yeah. Well, good.
More than films now, I have to say.
Right.
I feel like some of the best things that are happening, the best storytelling. I like a really long, sprawling novel.
Right.
And so I love an 8-part miniseries. I love.
Did you watch Shogun?
Big story. I have not watched the new one yet.
Oh my goodness!
Can't wait.
Oh, you will love that. I got to interview Michael Douglas, and he's done this Franklin. He plays Ben.
I watched some of that. I'm not all the way through it yet, but really good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's there's more French than English in that. It was shot in France. It's really cool. There's stuff in Japan and Korea and.
Oh yeah, I mean, I couldn't get through Squid Game too violently. I'm not very good at violence. Really bad with that. But Money Heist, I thought was extraordinary.
Didn't see that. Yeah.
Oh, Spanish.
Yeah.
Fantastic. It's a bank heist.
Yeah.
Really good cat and mouse.
Okay.
Great. I loved it. The Outlaws. Great BBC miniseries.
No.
3rd season going in. Christopher Walken is in it, which is so funny. It's created by Stephen Merchant.
Oh my God.
And Jessica Gunning, who is in Baby Reindeer.
Oh, which was madness.
Crazy. She's so funny in this. And it's about a group of people who have to do community service.
Oh.
And it's kind of a crime caper at the same time.
Great premise.
Really, really good.
Did you watch Slow Horses?
Oh, yeah. Loved it.
Pretty incredible.
Loved every minute of that.
Canadian
amazing.
Showrunner. It's Graham Yost, right?
Yeah.
Did you work on any of his other shows? Or?
Wait, who else directed that? I'm trying to think what I just watched. Oh, no, The Diplomat, because Chris Long. I worked with Chris Long on The Mentalist. He directed, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
That was fascinating. I was on the set of that.
Yeah.
And talked to the showrunner who did Rome, didn't he? Anyway. But,
I was going to say, Chris Long was doing it at the time, and I thought, because I love The Americans.
Yeah.
Great show. I was like, oh, God, I would love doing something like that. And then The Diplomat as well. Fantastic, yeah.
This is a wonderful time to be an actress in television, right?
I don't think it's getting, sadly we're getting, I guess things have kind of shut down a little bit after the strike, and we're like, we're going to make less stuff. Yeah. But the range of things that are available and the stories we're starting to tell are so much more exciting. And I feel, I love the fact that I'm finding, I just started watching some really great Quebecois shows. I just watched Saving Beatrice with Sophie Loren. Oh my gosh, there's 5 or 6 seasons of it.
Wow.
It's a beautiful show. She is so extraordinary in it. And so I started finding more shows out of Quebec that I find really interesting that I don't get to see. And
to the Two Solitudes, it was great. Cardinal kind of crossed the border.
That was a good show.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Really atmospheric.
Yeah.
And both actors.
But The Killing that was shot in BC was incredible.
Yeah.
But then the original one is amazing. And I find it very inspiring. Yeah. I'd like to feel inspired.
So your next show, you'd want to do your, a gun-toting ambassador in a foreign land? Like, would you look for something 180 degrees away from?
Well, I'll probably take whatever I can get because I'll be lucky to get another gig.
No, but that's ridiculous. After this show, no, isn't this give you a tremendous showcase for your talent, and people would be well aware? I'm not blowing smoke. You're on a hit show, which is the most popular comedy in Canada.
Yeah, we're Canada. We don't have a star system of any kind.
I guess, but
so I will hold that close and hope for the best. See if the offers come in. But
you probably sat at too many CSI awards, and that would.
I had never been to them in my life, not once until this year was the first time I'd ever been. We won the audience award, so I went, but I've never been to the actor award. I don't like awards. I feel like I don't care for award shows. This is my reasoning behind it. I feel like I don't think you can't give out awards for art in that way. Like, you can't say, it's a Picasso or a Monet, which one do you think is better?
Right.
Like, it's not comparable. You can't take 8 performances from every gender, put them in the same category, and tell me that you're going to pick a best. Yeah. There is no best.
No.
There's just, I prefer awards where, like the Mark Twain Prize for Comedy.
Yeah.
You give out one award because you're like, this is a body of work.
It's just
and this person is amazing.
It's going to be a good time. Yeah.
Kennedy Center honors.
Yes.
Let me honor a body of something.
Yeah.
But the idea that we take a bunch of people and say, this movie's better than that movie. Well, is it? This TV show's better than that TV show. Is it? It's just an opinion.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so I think they shouldn't be.
Okay. See what I can do. I've tried. I've argued that many years.
It's never going away, but no.
Having said that, Picasso or Monet?
I know. See, what do I do? I'm an Impressionist fan. I love the Impressionists.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, when you're in Toronto, drive north to Kleinburg, and they have Quebec Impressionists. They have a new show on.
Really?
It's all painters who were inspired by the Group of Seven, and they went on the St. Lawrence and they painted in an Impressionist style.
See, that sounds gorgeous.
It is.
I would love that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Really kind of cool.
I would love that.
Yeah, check that out.
Okay.
It's always there. My goodness, Claire, we've covered a lot of ground.
And we jump past some things where I'm just like, oh no, I just went on a tangent to the other direction. But
that's all right.
Okay.
I mean, it's a wonderful career. You must look back and be very thrilled that you chose this path.
Yeah, I'm really. Yeah. I'm grateful I'm still standing. No, I mean in the industry, like I'm grateful that like I somehow like I've had other jobs. I'm not one of those actors who never ever had another job, like right. But I'm really grateful that I'm still standing. That there are people out there who think I have something to offer, and that I get a chance to keep doing what I do and get better. I feel like I'm much better now than I was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Like that's,
a lot of viewers would agree. That's fantastic.
So,
were there actresses whose career you really admired? You think, oh, gee, there's somebody to emulate or be.
Oh God, there's so many. I mean, where does one even begin? I hate to say that because it's just like there's.
Well, even Golden Age. Were you a Katharine Hepburn?
I was a huge Katharine Hepburn fan. Huge Katharine Hepburn.
You watch TCM? Is that a favorite channel? Or?
I was a huge old movie fan. Like I said, and the same thing with like a huge musical fan. So I'm a huge, like I have somebody gave me a letter that Fred Astaire had written to them. And that's like one of my prized possessions. He used to live next door to Fred Astaire when he was a child.
Wow.
So he has like Christmas cards and letters from Fred Astaire. And I was on a set and he knew how much I loved Fred Astaire. Those movies were just everything to me when I was a kid. I thought he was the most debonair, dashing human on the planet. And he gave me a letter.
Freddie, thanks for picking up my mail.
It was
Fred Astaire.
It was a thank you for Christmas gift kind of mail. God. Happy holiday season, Fred Astaire. And I'm like, I have a little piece of memento for that. Yeah, but I just think of people. I don't know. I'm like Holly Hunter, and I love her, and there's just people from way back in the day.
So Broadcast
Anne Bancroft. Oh, Broadcast News.
That's the Holly Hunter film.
What a great film.
Yeah.
What a great film.
Written by the guy from The Simpsons, right?
Oh my God, who was that?
Brooks.
Albert Brooks. Yeah. Well, I mean,
not Albert Brooks.
Wait, who Brooks?
James L.
Oh, James L. Brooks. Oh my God.
Yeah. But Albert's pretty good.
I'm an Albert Brooks fan too. Diane Weiss, I love.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, because you just want to go like Meryl Streep. Well, I love Meryl Streep. Like, of course I do. Everybody loves Meryl Streep. Like, Meryl Streep is amazing in everything.
Were you watching Only Murders in the Building under?
I've only seen the first season.
Oh, okay. Well,
I flip my. I can't do all the streamers at the same time because I get so inundated.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I binge watch my way through everything on Apple TV, give it a break, and then I binge watch my way through everything on Disney, and then I binge watch my way through everything on.
Because they all get hot at different times. Like Apple's had a good year; they've had some good stuff, but now it's August and Murders is coming back, and so renew Disney for a month.
I know. I've only seen the first season of The Bear because I haven't gone back to Disney yet.
That's a pretty intense show, so I haven't really done.
You know what I loved and I didn't think I would love was Yellowstone.
Yeah.
I'm not a Western person, but that's not a Western. I was like, no, they've hit it underneath a Western. It's like a West. It's like a West Wing meets I don't know what.
He's doing something else
underneath it all.
Even Tulsa King, which is by the same guy. It's a very different show, but you're right. It's
I was like, it's politics, it's family dynamics. It's when I did work with Kevin Costner, and he was one of the put him at the top of the list of the most wonderful people I've ever ever worked
wonderful
with.
Story. That's heartening. That's nice.
He was amazing.
Wow. What did you work with him on?
I had a very small role in Molly's Game.
Okay.
Also, Aaron Sorkin was absolutely wonderful, like incredible. But I, most of me is on the cutting room floor, and it wasn't that big a role to begin with.
But I had to read it in iambic pentameter, or what is that?
Well, I had a handful of scenes with I played Kevin's wife, and we played Jessica Chastain's parents, but when she was young, but also when she was old, and that was a kind of crazy thing. Aaron Sorkin took me aside and said, "I know that you're basically the same age as Jessica, and Kevin's a lot older, but he said I'm not going to make him younger, and I'm not going to make you older. It's just kind of going to be what it is, or whatever." Well, all those scenes where I was actually being Jessica's mom are on the cutting room floor, but
because you looked
because they didn't even grade my hair or anything, so it was like that's a little weird. But what was really amazing about it was that Kevin Costner has never forgotten what it's like to be a journeyman actor. Like he's never forgotten what it's like to need the paycheck and to do the work, and he's so respectful of everyone around. And Aaron Sorkin I thought he was extraordinary.
Good. Well, that's lovely to hear. I mean, it didn't, Costner started as the body in the coffin at
that's right.
The Big Chill, right?
Big Chill.
You didn't even see
him. No. And all his flashback scenes were cut.
Yeah.
And so he never even made it in the movie.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I remember interviewing Sorkin a few times, West Wing and Studio 60 on the Sunset
Oh,
Strip.
yeah.
And everybody was into various pharmaceuticals on that show. Like it was a wild set.
Wow.
Matthew Perry was on that.
Yes, I remember.
And it was. You weren't on that show.
No, I had a friend who did some work on it. Stephanie Childers. She had a really nice role. And, but
Amanda Peet or.
Oh yeah, Amanda's around too.
Yeah. I just remember Matthew knocking back Jolt Cola, even to do the press thing, right?
Oh God.
Yeah, it's probably worse than cocaine.
Yeah, wow. I can't imagine.
Okay, finally, I have to ask: was there a show when you were growing up, when you were a youngster? Was there something? I know you only got the two channels. Was there a kids show or even a sitcom or something that you loved? You always looked forward
that we always watched.
Yeah,
Wonderful World of Disney.
Oh, okay.
Sundays at 6.
Yeah.
Always. Whatever that was.
Yeah.
Whatever that movie was.
We'd go color, and then the kaleidoscope would come on.
That was huge.
Yeah.
I loved the Edison twins when I was young. Do you remember that? Remember that Canadian TV show?
I do remember that.
It was kind of a sciencey, like.
Who was on that?
I don't know who those kids were when I think about it, but there was that.
Yeah.
What else did I always race that we always loved to watch, but Hanging In.
Oh yeah.
Remember Hanging In, like the kid that was like that teenage kind of kids show.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember
when I think of Canadian shows and stuff, and obviously we always watched The Beachcombers, obviously. And then, like that kind of thing. That was, yeah.
Yeah. You're too young to have watched The Beachcombers.
No.
That ended in the 70s.
I'm actually not.
Oh,
yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no. No, I'm not.
Yeah,
trying to think, like, what else will those good ones do? Yeah.
Well, I remember interviewing, I worked at TV Guide, and I started there in the 80s, and I remember interviewing, I think Hanging In, I think Lally Cadeau, was she on that show?
Right.
Yeah, and then Maxwell Smart, the guy who, Don Adams was on a terrible show.
I know, I remember he had that show briefly. I don't remember, but he came and did that Canadian show.
It was a grocery store.
The grocery, something Swap or Shop, or, somebody was just talking about that supermarket.
Dinah Christie was on it. And,
God, is that funny?
Yeah, and Don Adams couldn't remember any lines. They tried to do it as an audience sitcom the first season, but
like, that's not going to fly.
Couldn't remember anything, so they had to change it to the second season. And I remember interviewing him, and I'm coming in from TV Guide, and he literally had around his neck, he had a gold chain with a golden Emmy dangling.
No.
Yeah, he did.
No.
Yeah, he did. So I had, Don, did you win? I knew he'd won 3 in a row. He was Maxwell Smart. But it was just.
Which was a great show.
Which was a great show.
That was a great fun show.
Those Emmys.
I mean, we did watch a lot of that too. Like, I did love me some Haas, I must say, from Bonanza. Yeah. Like we had old shows, like so much reruns. Yeah, but I did. I mean, we had Dick Van Dyke reruns. The Mary Tyler Moore Show, I've watched every single one of them. Happy Days. Like, there was a lot of reruns, I think.
Right, that's true.
I got 2 channels, so.
WKRP in Cincinnati.
I love WKRP in Cincinnati.
I just was watching.
So funny.
I've got the box set.
Thanksgiving episode.
Well, yeah, the Thanksgiving is fantastic. I do a podcast. Hi there. I heard a knock.
I do too, but no.
I have the box set of WKR, and I watched it up north at Family Cottage, and there's no TV, but there's DVDs.
Yeah.
And I just did a podcast. Just an interview 10 years ago with Hugh Wilson, who created it.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So the podcast that's now on at Brio.tv, the podcast, is my conversation with him from 10 years ago.
Oh, that'd be fascinating. I'll go listen to that because I love that. Oh, I love that show.
He talks about how it was cast, who he couldn't get, they made him take, and
how it all played out afterwards.
Yeah, and how they managed to shoot it in an hour and a half. Like, they would do this thing next to the Laverne and Shirley set, which spent 6 hours.
I watched all those too.
But he thought it was so toxic. They made studio audiences stay
for 5-6 hours.
Yeah.
Well, also, nothing's funny after that. Like, it's torture.
Yeah.
I did one episode of a live sitcom show.
Oh, which one?
I did the Drew Carey Show.
Oh my God!
And I played like Drew Carey's college girlfriend or something.
All right.
But I thought, this is not like a play. This is so hard. This is not. Everyone say, "Oh, it's the easiest job in the world, like in and out, and one tape day, and blah blah blah." And I thought, this is not for me. This is not for me at all. Like the way that you would shoot and change on the fly, and you have hours and hours and hours of the studio audience. And I thought, oh God, this is so funny. It's like, I thought, I'm not a multi-camera comedy person at all. This is not my thing.
It seems terrifying to me. Yeah. Just as someone who doesn't act, it would be.
It was just not.
Yeah. But
it's a difficult. I think it's a much more difficult medium than you'd think.
Yeah.
It seems really easy breezy, but it was hard.
Funny cast though. Dietrich Bader and.
They were lovely. Those guys were super nice.
Yeah.
And very welcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I was very lucky. Didn't have that many bad experiences in LA, I have to say.
After Death Wish.
Yeah, and that was in Toronto. And that did me right in.
Really? Eh?
Yeah.
Well, but you just come from PEI and you're like, all of a sudden you're confronted with the worst of Hollywood.
Well, I'd just gotten off of a Stratford stage too, where you were like going, Shakespeare is like, I don't know, this is going to be, maybe not. Maybe not. I should ask Robert Joy what his experience was like on it, because he was on it too.
I said last question, but the other last one is favorite all-time TV theme song.
Oh, that's really hard. Do you know how many evenings I've had with friends where we just sit down and like sing all the theme songs we could possibly
I got a sense
get through?
You would have an answer.
That we would do those things?
Sure.
Facts of life.
Facts of life.
You take the good, you take the bad, you take them all.
An Alan Thicke composition.
The facts of life.
Wow.
Well, because that was a very kind of teenagery girl show, was sort of perfect for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that one.
Okay. We'll leave it there, Claire. Thank you very, very much I know you've been so busy. Thank you.
No, anytime. It's so great that you come out. You've been such a support to this show, and it means the world to us. It's really
my pleasure.
Really,
Why
really
not? Why
great.
wouldn't you support
great
shows?
It's really something.
Well, my thanks again to Claire Rankin, who was such a delight. I really hope to speak with her again soon. This episode, like all the episodes here, was produced by Phil Hong, who was also a delight. My thanks, as always, to the talented folks whose music is played on these podcasts, BJ Del Conte, Paul Boudra, Stephen Dudley, and all the crispy critters. Finally, thanks to you, listener. If you liked what you heard, please spread the word. I'm Bill Brio. Thanks for listening.